Recent versions of Flash Professional have given us a choice in how shapes are drawn upon the stage. In this lesson, we'll see the differences between these two drawing modes. So here I have a document open called objectdrawing.fla, and in here I'm going to go to my toolbar, and I'm actually going to pull this out so we can see it and all the options that come along with this as I draw out some shapes. So I'm going to choose to draw ovals using the oval tool, and I just toggled my swatches to black and white for stroke and fill. And one thing that is very important when you're working with shapes is how they are drawn. Within the options here, we have object drawing mode. And object drawing mode right now is toggled off, but we can toggle it on whenever we want. And the difference between regular drawing mode and object drawing mode is this. With it toggled off, I can draw out a shape, and let's make it a perfect circle. And then we have a shape here. But what happens if I, say, draw another shape on top of that? Like this. Well, what's going to happen is if I move this shape, it's going to eat into what I just created. The same thing, if I make a selection and move it, I can actually break this shape apart into many smaller pieces. And perhaps this is intentional, but perhaps it isn't. Maybe I don't want that to happen. So in that case, I'm going to want to use what's known as object drawing mode. So to toggle this on, we just have to go back to one of our shape tools and turn it on from the toolbar. Now when I draw out a shape, you can see that it has this sort of rectangle or square around it. This is what indicates that we're dealing with a drawing object instead of a basic shape. If I create another object and overlay that, we can see that we can still move each one of these independent of one another, and we can even move them over shapes, and they are isolated in that they don't actually affect anything else. So let's move the toolbar back to where it belongs. So that's great that we have this in object drawing mode, and we can see in the properties inspector that this is now a drawing object as opposed to this, which is a basic shape. If I have a drawing object selected, it is actually possible to turn this into a shape. And we do that by going to the Modify menu and selecting Break Apart. Break Apart is sort of a universal command for visual elements within Flash to break them into their different pieces. So if I break apart a drawing object, it will break it apart into its basic shapes. So this has been an example of how to use both merge and object drawing mode within Flash Professional.